and you should be going to YouTube.
Okay, great. I know we're live on TCTV channel 8. I can see that we're recording. I'm looking for the notification. Just looking for the quick notification on, here we go. I see us. TV channel 8. Turn down that volume. Hey, good evening, everyone. Mike Currie, I'm the chairman for the select board, and I'd like to welcome everyone that we have with us right now. I know we're probably going to get a couple more late arrivals, but welcome to the 2020 All Boards meeting. All boards, committees, councils, commissions. We've got a large amount of supporting government, and this is our chance. This on a yearly basis. We've been doing this many years now. I've done it both as advisory. I've done it as the Veterans Advisory Board, and now on the Select Board. And I can say that it's been an enjoyable experience every time that we've held it. This year being the exception. Everyone's in their Brady Bunch grid right now, and we're going to continue and press forward with our All Boards meeting, and we're using our Zoom platform. I'm going to bring up a slide deck that I'd like to use to kind of guide us along this evening. A little bit of a change in format. This is an informal setting, but I wanted to have something that people could both look at, see the names, and then also hear the presentations that we'll have this evening. Just going to bring that up. Perfect. Great. Adam, can we see the slides? Excellent. Great. Adam, if you might want to send Mr. Toth the link for that. He's having a little bit of a difficulty trying to get in.
Will do.
Thank you very much. I think that we'll probably wind up getting a few texts about that. But as I said, welcome tonight's All Boards meeting. We are live on TCTV channel 8 and YouTube, and we will be recording it for later viewing. As I said, I'm Chairman Mike Currie, and I'll be hosting this forum this evening. Okay, the agenda that I have for you this evening. Do a quick welcome. We'll go over a couple of rules of the road for Zoom if you have not used this platform before. I think most people have adapted quite nicely to this platform. It was what the Town of Templeton moved forward once we realized that we were going to be in a we didn't know how long it was going to last, so here we are, but we chose Zoom as our platform for carrying out business. We will go around the horn, around the room, and do a quick introduction of who we have with us. The Select Board, I'd ask just either a quick hello, or the Select Board members, offer them a brief moment to do any kind of presentation or their feelings on the impact that we've had in the past year. And then we'll move into our committee. Like I said, committee, commission, board, council, and any version of an agency or a collection or a team that we have. And I'll go over a quick format for the committees. But again, if you've prepared for this and you've got and you have your presentation ready, by all means, please use what you've prepared. And then at the end, as we have done in the past, we have an open forum. Anything that we'd like to kind of talk about as a group, we get together so infrequently. We may see each other at town meeting or as we're conducting business throughout the year. But in this forum, it's a great way to be able to connect and talk about goals that we have, not only from the Select Board's perspective, but all of the boards and committees' perspective, to see if we're all aligned or if we need to open up those lines of communication a little bit more. And then about after an hour, certainly not going to put a time limit on it, but I would say probably about an hour, we'll look to adjourn at that time. Okay, Zoom meeting protocols. If you haven't used it before, you should know that the use of video is really important. You know, here we are, December, in this COVID-19 pandemic, and certainly in my office, out of Hampstead, I've been remote working since probably back then. What I've heard is that there's a lack, or there's just this feeling of disconnectedness, and it's so important for people to actually see the people talking. So if you do have the ability to broadcast video tonight, I highly encourage that. A lot of people get shy; they don't like to broadcast their video until it's their time to speak. But just know, for the people, the viewing public that is watching, they won't see you or your participation unless you're actually broadcasting video. TCTV does a great job of identifying those that are communicating through phone or not using video. But I just encourage, as if we were sitting last year and at the senior center, let the people of Templeton see their boards and committees. Your mute button, unless you're speaking or trying to speak, just try and keep that mute on. Sometimes you might have some dogs or something else going on in the house, television or something like that. It really helps if you keep your mute button managed yourself. And then it's very easy. I know Terry knows the hand up feature in Zoom quite well, but if you either you raise your hand, you use the raise hand feature, or you just come off mute and try and cut in or request the floor. That's absolutely what we're looking for. There is a live chat on YouTube. Thanks, Mr. Toth, for breaking it in. I can see you were the first comment on there. Great to see you. But I want to just remember, this is a public record. Although it's we're not looking for quorums or making motions or otherwise. We do preserve this as part of the public record. Okay. So at this time, I'd like to, I've got up on the screen a list of all of the boards, committees, commissions that I could pull some data on just so I could put together some slides. I will say I did the best with what I could. Holly and I were commiserating over the past few hours to make sure that we had the right people on the right slides. When it's your turn to speak, you'll actually see like advisory committee. You'll see all your names there. Tom, we look forward to hearing from you tonight. But some of the names might not be as updated as we'd like them to be, but we strive to make sure that they were. But if you look at your screen right now, you'll see that's who we've got planned for this evening. I do have a catch-all for the committees that don't meet as much, like Open Space Committee. I know that Amanda, I can see Amanda's on tonight. We do serve on that. We had not planned on going speaking on that, but if we have something about open space we'd like to address or report on, we can certainly do that on that catch-all slide that I have at the end. What I'd like to do is I can see pretty much everybody that's on. What I'll do is I'll introduce you and you can or I'll call your name, and if you could just do a quick introduction of yourself. I am going to start with Adam Lamontagne.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adam Lamontagne, the new town administrator here in Templeton. I have the honor of working with the select board and with all the other boards, committees, and commissions in town. Met many of you when I was doing my tour through all the committees and boards. It was met many different people and a lot of good people in town, really dedicated and volunteering for their community. So I believe this is the dialogue where we can share ideas and have a format that the chair just illustrated that can produce a very productive discussion. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Adam. Yep. Just introductions right now, but thank you very much. I didn't have a slide for you, so great way to jump in, Adam. Currie Novak. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Currie Novak, and I'm here representing Open Space Committee and Agriculture Commission and potentially Community Preservation Committee if Mr. Henshaw isn't able to to come. So thank you for inviting the boards to this meeting.
Thanks, Currie. Tom Smith.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here as a chairman of the advisory committee, as well as being a member on capital planning. Look forward to speaking my first all boards meeting here in Templeton. Look forward to seeing how this all works.
Great, thanks, Tom. Terry Griffiths.
Terry Griffiths, lowly member of the Select Board.
Bob Sozik.
Bob Sozik, the director of the Templeton DPW, in charge of the highway, town buildings and grounds and cemeteries.
Great, thanks, Bob. Tim Toth.
Hello, Tim Toth, member of the Board of Selectmen. Looking forward to meeting everybody. Once we get behind this COVID, I'd like to get out and meet everybody in their work centers and just be aware of what we're doing. We have a great team, and I'm proud of each and every one of you.
Thanks, Tim. Steve Castle.
Hi, everybody. Steve Castle. I'm representing Templeton Community Television and also the Cable TV Advisory Committee.
Great, thanks, Steve. Amanda Susie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Susie. I am with Conservation Commission and Open Space Committee.
Great, thanks, Amanda. Tony DeJoy.
Hey, Tony DeJoy, Vice Chairman of the Advisory Committee.
Thanks, Tony. And Deb Wilder.
Hey, everybody. Deb Wilder, member of the Advisory Committee. I'm going to keep my camera off because I'm kind of moving around, but if you need me, I'll turn it on. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Deb. And with us also this evening, I don't want to forget, they may not be on a committee or otherwise, but they're certainly a great part of our TCTV team. We have Hannah Bennett and Caitlin Scott with us here this evening. So thanks, ladies. Okay. All right, just a quick welcome. It is an unusual way to get together in this kind of forum, but I think that we've become familiar with it. Certainly, we're trying to navigate government and helping out our fellow residents and achieve success. And we recently adopted, at least on the select board, we recently adopted a mission statement. And one of the things, it's just really trying to provide continuity of government. And that's really what we're looking to do tonight, is to say we can still gather, we can still collaborate as a community. So this is becoming really a familiar way, and really a great way to learn a backup for when, heaven forbid, this does happen again. At least we are learning a lot about ourselves and our technology. As I said, we're looking to meet about an hour this evening. We have a little bit lighter group than we did last year. One thing that last year when we got together, we had a little bit of pizza, or a lot of pizza. Adam, I saw that. We got it together in a horseshoe, and it was the people that were present that drove the presentation. This evening, the slides aren't really driving the presentation, but they're certainly opening up that placeholder to say, oh, I forgot that we had that. Like Steve Castle tonight, we'll talk about the cable TV use committee that has not been used in quite a while, but he can talk about that tonight. Certainly, we didn't talk about that last year, but there are a lot of different boards and committees that are out there that I think that a meeting like this raises awareness. Just by talking about the fact that there are vacancies within our community out there. And what I'd like to do, I'd like to foster a open and professional environment this evening. We're certainly not here to air grievances, although there is a tendency to want to try and fix things that are within the community. Tonight's more about achievements. One of our past select board members, Diane Haley Brooks, always fondly talked about strengths and weaknesses. So I'll have we can also have a healthy discussion about any strengths or weaknesses that we see within our own organizations. But I offer to you to keep it open but professional. For those who were not following along with some of the initiatives that the select board had a while back, I think it was about a year ago, in our select board goals, we wanted to put forth a mission statement. So for about, I would say, the better part of about 2 months, and really it's because it was a collaborative process, we waited until we had either workshops or business meetings to discuss it. But you'll see on your screen right now is what we came up with a mission statement that you can find on the select board page for the town's website. And it says, Templeton's town government strives to promote transparency, improve quality of life, enhance a sense of community, and preserve the core values of our 4 villages. We are committed to fostering respect, public decorum, and hospitality for a caring community. Your town government supports initiatives that create a welcoming and compassionate environment for residents, businesses, and visitors alike. We endeavor to provide excellent services through a responsible and accessible town government focused on the public good. So with that spirit, I think not only by adopting that within the last year, and in a moment, I'll turn it over to my fellow select board members. I think that we're achieving this goal from a mission statement perspective. We're not perfect. We've been more perfect in past times. We've been less perfect in past times. And certainly while I sit and make my observations on the select board for the last 2 years, especially within this last year, I think that we are achieving a lot in those core values, recognizing that not everything happens in Templeton, not everything happens in Baldwinville, that we have to remain committed to everything that goes on within those villages and make sure people are aware of it. That's where that transparency comes in. So that's probably one of the most, I'm very proud that we've gotten through that. So we basically set a benchmark by which we can achieve greater things. And it's annual report time. I don't see Jeff Bennett on yet, but I will give him a plug for the rest of everybody else. If you have any hand in contributing to that annual town report, make sure you get those in early. And that way, if there are any tweaks or otherwise, or you need it to work with your board or committee, that you've got the time to do that, so we can include those within the town's annual report. That's all I had. I wanted to now turn it over to the selectmen before we dive into the assembled boards and committees that we have tonight. I will mention that in this last year, we did change from a board of selectmen to a more, what's the word, Terry, that I should say, politically correct. I think the state overall, half the cities and towns have already gone through this, where they've changed the board of selectmen to a select board, and instead of being a selectman, you're a select board member.
Gender neutral.
Right. And within that, we've also published our select board goals that are a part of that budget process. The department heads are using those diligently right now to come up with their, and we've got Bob with us this evening, speaking as a department head, but they're using those goals as they develop their budgets that we'll start reviewing over the next couple of months. So what I'd like to do at this point is invite my fellow select board members to make any kind of presentation, or if they'd like to help me kick off this all boards meeting. Looks like I've got on the list, we have Jeff Bennett as the vice chair. The reason why it says 2019 and 2020, he was elected in 2019 for a 1-year term, but then elected to a 3-year term in 2020. And Julie Richard, she is she remains the clerk on the board, and she has been serving on the board since 2014. And with us this evening, Terry Griffiths.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Mike. I just noticed too on our mission statement, and it's popped up lately, that we have a forgotten village. So I'm just adding that to start off, but I did prepare a little bit of one thing to say. The Brooks Village, that's one of our older villages, forgotten villages. So I don't know if we need to amend that mission statement to include 5 villages, and as Brook villages come to the forefront lately. I just want to say, one thing, it's, I didn't really prepare anything, but I've been doing a lot of reading, and we had an unprecedented year with COVID, but if I took away one thing from this year, as a select board member, it's not all about the money. It's about community. I know our community the taxpayers do want to know where their dollars are going, but we've got a lot of terms that, and I can read a few of them, that cause a lot of pain, and I don't know a lot about everything. And some of the terms, in the books that I've been reading, genocide of Native Americans, white supremacy, Black Lives Matter, defund the police, global warming, climate change, PFAs, biomix, including human fecal material, donut economics, militarization, collective militarization. The MMA in the Senate and the House of Representatives, they all talk about these things, and they're all passing policies. And it's just something that I spoke with Mr. Toth today, select board member Toth today, and I guess workshops sometimes talk about these things informally. And I just wanted to, I know they're hot button issues. They invoke pain. The books that I'm reading are very painful. Some of the realizations that I've come to, that it's very painful in economics across corporate greed, billionaire greed, the fact that, how do I explain it? Papal bulls, people can just go in and take over a land that's not necessarily theirs, by I can't think of all the terms, but again, those are things that I think sometimes that as a select board, maybe we could address in a workshop, and I can be better prepared, and on the issues. And that's all I guess I have to say. Merry Christmas, everybody. And, that was just one of the things I took away from the year when the defund the police came through. It was a shock to our community, and people were upset. And, I would like to understand it more and maybe have speakers in like the workshops for those topics going forward.
Thanks, Terry. Appreciate it. Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of my passions is trying to have a better understanding. And I've always believed if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, which is what drove me to step up and pull the nomination papers earlier this spring, the pre-COVID era. But I truly believe we have a wonderful team working. I am very grateful for all the folks who stepped up to the various boards and committees. I encourage anybody who's still thinking about it. We have some vacancies around town. Please look into it. And if you're so interested and so desire, please step forward. One of the people who stepped forward very recently, and I just jumped over to this meeting from the Regional School District Amendment Committee's first meeting, and I'm going to mess her name up, I guarantee it, is Katrina Beaumille, who graciously stepped up and took on the vice chair position for that subcommittee. So hats off to her. Good job. I'm looking forward to a lot of work.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, Katrina does a great job. She's not only a nurse in the community, but she She is also a Girl Scout. I forget how they refer to them, but a school Girl Scout leader, and does a great job with that. So thank you for mentioning that. And Sheila Taylor, right along with her, that volunteered for that important organization. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, this is the portion that probably all the viewers came for. They didn't. I think that they really want to be able to understand what's going on in a comprehensive way with the boards, especially that ones that we have represented tonight. I had a slide for everybody. I've got more slides than I have people at this point, but I will go through and I've arranged it by boards, commissions, and committees. But just based on the people that we have tonight, we'll probably go through them real quick. I'll hit the slide if there's someone representing that organization this evening. And as some of you already said, that that it's possible that you could be representing more than one, or even in some cases more than two. Or if anyone is on tonight, I know Bob is not on a committee, but I don't think that we have cemetery, the Parks and Cemetery. I'm not sure if we have anyone representing it on tonight, so maybe you could speak on behalf of that. But really what we're looking for is, as you see there on your screen, any achievements that you might have had, anything that you'd like to talk about, whether it's past events or our upcoming events. And then, like I said, Diane used to always, she was always the last person on the select board to ask, give me a strength and a weakness, or if you'd like to mention that, to say this is something that we could work better at, or you know what, we really we did a great job adapting to the Zoom, and we had a lot of outreach that way. But that's really what the strengths and weaknesses are about. So without further ado, is anyone on this evening representing the Board of Assessors? And on the slide, I try to put what I did for each of these slides is a quick description of what that board or committee or commission or council does based on whether it's from the Massachusetts design or whether it's right off of our website, what they do. I love the part about the Board Assessors where they do not, they're not assigned to raise and lower taxes, but do the work that supports the data that causes that to happen. But it looks like we don't have anyone on this evening for the Board of Assessors, so I'll move to Board of Health. I know that Jane Crocker said that she was going to come on. I believe is commuting, so I'm actually going to probably circle back when Jane comes back on. Okay, Council on Aging, the advisory board to the Senior Services Department. Do we have anyone on for the Council on Aging this evening? Okay, moving along. Planning Board, very important. You'll notice the members that we have there. I don't think we have anyone on from Planning Board. Library Board of Trustees. Almost forgot them to include it within the slide deck here to talk about our wonderful Boynton Library with its new roof. It's getting quite the overhaul there, and again, using that gift money to really make that library work for our community. Thank you to the people that are on the Board of Trustees. Too bad we don't have anyone on tonight to talk about that roof. Zoning Board of Appeals. I think John was with us last year, but I don't see him on tonight. Okay, Agricultural Commission. Currie.
That would be me.
Absolutely.
We haven't met too much this year. We're kind of a sporadic commission, and we tend to meet more this time of year because the folks on our committee are certainly busy in the summertime. So we do meet, and you may see throughout the town our lovely signs. We had several farms in town participate by purchasing a sign, and they're on the road identifying that we are a right to farm community and with the name of the sponsoring farm. So our purpose is really just to try to mediate any issues, agricultural issues, and be there to support agriculture in our community. Thank you.
I just want to say a quick thanks to Currie for stepping up when the issue came up on North Cross Hill. That was an example of how they mediate, and I appreciate it.
Great. And Currie, I did see those signs. I know one popped up. I'm on Hubbardston Road, and will frequently come back, back down towards the center of town. And I saw the sign out there. I love to see that. I didn't move fast enough to get the picture of my barn behind me, like you've got your barn behind you. But we do have horses on our property, and we love to be in the community that supports agricultural and right to farm. So thank you.
Yeah, that actually is, that sign is our farm, Partridgeville Farm, the one coming from Hubbardston to Templeton on Hubbardston Road.
Fantastic. Thank you, Currie. And if you notice anything the people that we have tonight, if you notice that I have an error on any of those slides, please let me know, because I work pretty closely with Adam and Holly to make any updates. Sometimes she might not get, if there was an appointment, she might not get it right away, and she does update the website, or it helps the boards out there to make sure all the right people are listed. So thank you for that. Okay, Cemetery and Parks Commission. It doesn't look like we have any of the people listed on there, but anything exciting and important going on, Bob?
Well, we seem to have a good crew on that department now. They're real professional. They're keeping up and getting a lot of compliments on both cemeteries on how good they look. They did some reseeding over the green lawn. That come in good. We do have a future plan for expanding and getting some more lots out of both cemeteries. We met with the commissioners. Hopefully this winter we're able to get in and cut some trees and start prepping it for the spring work to buy us some more time over the Pine Grove. Looks like we might get about another 120 lots, so that'll definitely buy us some time. And I know they're talking about putting some new signage up come next year. So come a long ways. The technology on the grounds, they got a leaf vac now. They got a leaf plow. So that it makes a big difference in time saving and trying to empty all the bags off the mowers all the time. So everything's working out pretty good.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate the update. And if anyone has any questions as we move along, that's quite all right as well. Since we don't have a huge crew, there's certainly a chance to have some crosstalk before the open forum, especially if it brings up something, kind of the way Terry's been doing it, just popping in with a comment or otherwise. But thank you very much, Bob, for that quick update on that. Conservation Commission, CONCOM.
I can speak for CONCOM. I don't know that anybody else is here. We do have a fairly new member that is not listed, Amanda Rasmussen. This year, we've continued to protect the wetlands in our town by approving or modifying building plans to reduce runoff. We also go out and spell it. Your last name, all right?
RASMUSON.
MUSON.
Look at that.
Perfect.
Live updates.
Live updates. There's a little bit of a lag between my phone and the computer. So perfect. Yes, so we've also been going out and monitoring current construction just to make sure everybody is following the regulations.
Fantastic. Thanks, Amanda. I know that I've been the recipient of the professional work of the Concom at least twice since being in town, and it's a professional force. I really enjoy watching your meetings. They're fair. They allow everyone to speak, because sometimes, as Terry alluded to, there's some contentious use issues that go out there, and again, the professionalism that you have out there. I know because you and I have served just briefly on open space together, but I'm certainly aware of your area of expertise. The fact that we have someone that's so good at GIS within the community certainly makes me feel better, that we've got, like George and Dave, Earl, they've been around a while. A matter of fact, I think it was George and Dave that were out walking the ground at where I lived, giving that support. So again, thank you very much. I think you guys are doing a great job. I'm glad that your numbers are not shrinking to the point of panic, and actually they're growing as we speak, so that's good.
So Mike, just one note, Earl is no longer on the board.
Okay.
If you bring that up again, is Vincent on there? Yeah. Oh, Vinny retired. Yeah. Okay. So it's just me, George, Dave, and Amanda now.
Okay.
We have space for more, and we would love if somebody who is interested in coming up with a trail system for some of our conservation land to join us. That would be excellent.
That would be excellent. Thanks, Amanda. Okay, next up is Recreation Commission. Was hoping to have Scott on tonight. Their numbers look very good as well. I know they've been quite busy lately. I try and watch the meetings, but I know that they are really pushing forward with capital items, a lot of work to Gilman Waite. I know that they're also very involved with the Veteran Services Officer, Sheila Pelletier, on the Elm Street, or now referred to as the River's Edge Conservation Area, or not from a recreation point of view, but there's a lot of crosstalk and otherwise. And then the park that we have that we're working on over in Otter River. So if you're watching out there from Recreation Commission, thanks for all the hard work you're doing. We'll get you next year. Sewer Commission. Do I have anyone on from Sewer Commission? I'm sorry, Terry, I didn't see you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just they had to change the chair. Scott's on Parks and Recreation Committee, and he's signing up for capital planning too. So I think he's just a member now. I don't believe he's still the chair. Okay.
When I was talking with Holly, she thought that he had gone back over there. So I had him off and then I put him back on, but thanks for that heads up. Sewer Commission, Mark, Tom, and Tom with Bob McDonald. I think Bob might have joined us within the last year, or he had just joined as our sewer department superintendent. So I'm not sure if he had already joined the team or had just joined it from last year, but we do not have anyone on from Sewer Commission. Fortunately, we have three people on from the advisory committee tonight. So Tom, Deb, and Tony, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman Currie. Advisory wise, we've been pretty busy with trying to review things as we're going through the initial 1/12 budget that we started off with, and at the same time reviewing the accounts from last fiscal year. Being fairly new to the advisory committee, I find that it's a great board a great committee to be a member of. I couldn't ask for better knowledge-wise people on the committee. Many of them have been doing this for quite a while, yet they're still willing to, potentially listen to some fresh ideas from new members, and it's very it's humbling to actually get to look at the town's numbers and realize it's not all about, everybody can't have everything they want. I certainly noticed that being on capital planning also. It's those items keep coming in, but the town can't always afford everything. So through advisory, trying to look over everything, and it's been good to start working. In my mind, I enjoy working with the other boards to come to the common goal of helping out the community, the town. I recently had the opportunity to work with a lot of the boards and committees in that when I built my home here in town, and they were all very willing to work with you. They were great, and it's a strong group of people here in town going forward. So Tony and Deb, feel free to hop in on anything else as far as advisory wise at this point.
Guess the only thing I would say, Tom, is that we still have 2 vacancies that need to be filled. So if you know anybody that's interested in advisory, please have them contact Holly or contact a board member, and we'd be happy to have 2 more members.
Ditto. I've enjoyed the time that I've been on the committee and learned a lot. So it's a great committee to be a part of, especially if you kind of want to dip your toes into municipal government and learn what's happening in town. So thanks.
Thanks, Deb, Tony, and Tom. I do have a question. You mentioned you are the fire chief for Winchendon. In your time in Winchendon, and it comparatively to Templeton, do you see if we have issues, problems, or successes, do you see any kind of commonalities, or do you see like some things that like the advisory committee can kind of take a look at to say, hey, this is a unique thing that's happening in Templeton, or do you think it's a more regional successes and failures or otherwise, or just from your, from working from Templeton, Winchendon?
Yeah, Mike, it's definitely a regional thing. A lot of the issues that Templeton has when it comes to, finances and advisory wise, are no different than the other communities. Sometimes how they're handled is a little bit different. And I think that's what makes Templeton special on that. I noticed that Adam's very open to, if you've got a question, he has no issue going to him and addressing it. He may not agree with what you're suggesting, and that's fine, because you relatively shouldn't always agree. And I think that the flow of information in the past, I think in Templeton, and I can speak as previously being a department head here in Templeton, I think the communication is improving a lot at this point. The flow of information has really improved, and I think that's the biggest goal I feel as far as when it comes to that is, the more information flow, the better. And Templeton's done a good job with, working on getting their bond rating up. It's the same thing that we went through in Winchendon with the deficit legislation that we had to bail ourselves out of over the last 5 years. And the town came together and did it fantastic. So.
Yeah, I agree, Tom. I mean, about communication, even just between your committee and the select board, I think it was about a year ago that there was some communication from the advisory committee, and it took the select board, I don't know, a month, 2 months. It was unacceptable when we look at it in hindsight. We can come up with that was because Carter was only in 2 days a week. We could come up with it, whatever kind of excuses, but certainly looking at it from a shame on us perspective, I know I wanted to be better about communication. And part of that is, as from your last meeting, we got to watch each other's meetings. We all have families, busy lives. It's true, but if one thing that I got better about was paying attention to when the YouTube it comes up as, hey, this meeting's going on. You might not be able to get into it, but you might know when another board is meeting, Recreation Commission is meeting, or Concom is meeting, or the advisory or something like that. When we watch each other's meetings, or at least participate in the comfort of our own home, we get better at communication, because then we know what you're looking for. We know that there's a question coming. And I certainly want to get better at that. I don't want to have happen what happened a year ago. And I know when that was under Tony's, Tony what I'm saying is Tony can probably remember even from a better perspective, because he was like, hey, they haven't answered us yet.
I even watched a 2018 advisory meeting that Jeff was in charge of with Bev and Liz Toth and a bunch of other faces. And we've improved since then. I mean, there was some fun to it. I mean, I like the dynamics between the players, if you want to say, the board members, and it was really enlightening. So, and again, thanks to TCTV for the history and the keeping track of all these meetings, because, it was cool.
Yeah. And, shout out to Deb, because Deb had to translate whatever I was trying to get out in the chat so that it would either be read or not read, or provide information or comment on something. It's tough having that, but we deal with the same thing. I got to go through the comments during our meeting to try and keep that transparency, that chance for the public to be able to be a part of the deliberation.
A little bit of the time delay, I noticed that. Yeah. Kudos to Deb. I saw that.
Thank
Great.
you.
Tom, anything else?
No, it should be all pretty much that's it at this point.
Great. Hey, thanks for coming, you and your team for coming tonight. That was fantastic. All right, moving on. I've got the slide back up. As I told Steve, I've got the Cable TV Advisory Committee up there. And Steve, if you could just describe that, and you're the lonely guy right there. Is it something that we need to promote more, or is that something that we need to activate when there's better timing or the time is right?
Well, part of that is my fault for probably not putting some of the other members' names on the website. But I think right now we're in an unofficial capacity because we lack the members. But we kind of rebooted the advisory committee a couple years ago and really went out and sought people who were using TCTV. And since we have to grow in a sustainable way for ourselves and find revenue streams, how can we do this? And Brian Tangway of the Historical Society has been on that, and Pat Gale, who's also on the Cultural Council and is a tremendous resource for me as well. She helps with the Facebook feed on the weekend, so I can take a little break here and there. They've been helpful with that. We've sought other members from the senior community and others. And I really want it to be there to figure out, okay, how can we use this as a community going forward and allow TCTV to be sustainable in that. So Brian and Pat have been great with that. The advisory committee also exists to do things like negotiate the cable license contract with Comcast, which fortunately is not coming up for another few years, because that's usually you have to start that 3 years ahead of time. And there's only about 5 things you can negotiate, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So, but you're dealing with Comcast, so it's a bit of a bear. And also, as a check and balance for me, in directing TCTV, if I make a decision on TCTV, whether it's programming, let's say I don't put a program on that somebody submitted at a certain time, they can go to a cable TV advisory committee as an adjudicating board. So I don't have all the power. And then it's an advisory committee to the select board, so then they can bring a recommendation if the select board wants to make a recommendation on it.
Very interesting. Yeah.
So it's not a dictatorship. I make the decisions, but I'm also liable to checks and balances. And of course, TCTV is a huge part of that. And I think everyone's familiar with what we've done this year with the Zoom meetings. And, we've really had to kind of crawl out of a crater. Thank you, Terry. With, people leaving, and we've had to staff up. And fortunately, Hannah has been a trooper with the meetings. We've pulled her over from doing the community videos, and we really need to get back to doing that, because right now we're really heavy on the government and the meeting side, as is necessary. And Caitlin has joined us, and we're looking to add a couple more people. Sarah DeJoy, who has been our intern and part-time help during college breaks, and hopefully over the summer is ready to start helping us again for the Christmas break. So, that's what we're doing. We really want to get back to doing more community videos. There haven't been a lot of festivals this year to help us with that. But, there are certainly shows that we want to do, and we've got sponsors lined up for some of them. We just have to be able to get to it. As far as challenges go, communications, as was mentioned, I think by Mike and Tom, are big. And I think I talked about this a little bit last year. And, we had some trouble when we started with the Zoom meetings, getting everybody on board to what they have to do. And a lot of it is just communications and having professional courtesy to let other people know, who else needs to know this. And we've gotten caught a couple of times between entities in town that aren't communicating. And then we have to call them both and get them to communicate so we know where to go and do what we do. And the same with some things that happened at the school. And it can get very frustrating. I'm not saying anyone's unprofessional, but we're all very busy. And sometimes we just don't think through, gee, does somebody else need to know this and when? And the people that we've worked with on a one-to-one basis on this have been great. And they've made real improvements, I think, in that, communicating from the town hall. And the only other thing I'd like to add is TCTV would really like to be, and I think it's fitting to be, kind of a nexus of communication, at least for the community services groups. So recreation, cultural, veterans, council on aging, we're well positioned to do that. And we're just trying to figure out, okay, how do we get all that information? How do we get it out? Caitlin and I today were talking about the bulletin board she's designing on Channel 8 right now. And how do we get those dated events and make sure we're not missing any going out to Facebook?
Right.
And we're actually looking to hire a program coordinator like that who can work with all the different organizations and kind of bring that in as a funnel to TCTV, and then we can go out to the community with it. Right. And we should be able to do that for the whole town as well. So, but starting with community services, we're really committed. Jackie and I have talked about this, of being kind of the nexus of information there and figuring out how we can make that happen. And I'll leave it with that.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. One of the things that I appreciate about TCTV in the situation that you have is that you have the resources that you need for the most part. Like you said, this year, in terms of milestones, you had quite a few. You got your new server upgraded. You have people watching live on their television. They don't have to get on YouTube or otherwise. That is how they can communicate backwards, but they're watching their television. And as I believe Will Springs said in one of his, maybe about a year ago, he is talking about, you have to make sure that you're not moving so far forward in technology that you leave a sizable chunk of your community behind. He didn't say it exactly like that, but I think he was making sure that people still had access. It's centered around being able to have paper copies of stuff. We have to make sure that we have the annual report for people that are more analog than they are digital. And we're achieving that. You may have moved forward, but you helped the people that really couldn't move as fast forward as some of the other people in the community. Mm-hmm. So I certainly thank you for that. And I got a kick out of telling my kids to go watch me on live TV. So,
Hey, and more people can use that. A lot of towns, if we can get the school going once COVID ends on the sports and the booster program, it's seeing your kid playing football on the rerun of the football game or the soccer match, and we're really looking to get all these groups more involved because you know what, TCTV doesn't exist for me. I'm a caretaker. It exists for a younger generation of people like Hannah and Caitlin and others, and it exists for the town, and everyone has to get involved. We're not Channel 5, and we're not going to be staffed up and to be able to cover everything for everybody. So we really want to get people involved, and I like your point about not leaving people behind. That was a big part of the server because we need to go live on Channel 8.
Yep.
YouTube isn't enough, and we can't leave those people behind. And that was actually our plan, was to go live on Channel 8 before YouTube for those cable subscribers. But COVID changed all of that. Unfortunately, we were going to run a YouTube test the night of your emergency meeting on March 16th. So that became our debut.
Yeah.
So it just so happened to work out. And, the server's doing well. It's about 95% operational to what we want it to be running. I have to work on a few little wrinkles with it. But one of the things that it can do that I think is great is we can allow certain groups in that access. For instance, we're talking with the senior center about curating their own senior hour, and Kaylee there in pulling some programs from other sources so that they can really curate their own shows.
Right.
And
How fun is that?
yeah, and it's a lot easier to use than the old server, so we can actually do that, and we hope to do that with more groups.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate it.
Me too.
Thank you. Thank you all.
So, some of these committees are not pure committees. They have separate people, but I put them out there for consideration because everyone has to kind of configure themselves in another way. Like Terry has to think about capital improvements aside from her responsibilities as a select board member. So from the capital planning committee, Tom, do you want to talk through anything that's going on? Anything that might have been significant this year or?
Basically, we've met now with all the department heads as far as their submissions to capital planning. We're in the process of, at our next meeting, going through our recommendations and going through the how we feel things need to be ranked or scored. Then our following meeting will be bringing our recommendations to the select board. Being previously having submitted these, it's interesting being on the other side. There's a lot of excellent requests that come in, and everybody is able to justify why they need what they're requesting, and as they should. They're not turning something in there. In my mind, they're not trying to move the department forward. So the department heads are doing a great job when it comes to that. Comes down to obviously the almighty dollar when it comes to the different things that can be put forward and eventually do get potentially approved, whether by the board or at a town meeting or however town chooses to go forward with it. So it's a great group of people. It's nice getting Justice Graves joined us. Seems very interested. Spoke at town meeting.
Yep.
Nice to see someone young trying to get involved in the in their community. So pretty much all
on the role of clerk, met with Adam to get a little, he had his questions answered because Adam gave him a task. I forget what it was. Was it Excel, a program or something Adam gave him? And, it's nice that he stepped up.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, next we have Community Preservation Committee. Quite a few people on there, and thankfully we've got Currie has hung in there with us. Thank you very much, Currie. Amanda, are you on the CPC as well? Did I have that correct?
I am not.
Okay. Well, Currie, like you said, you couple of different hats you're wearing in this meeting.
Yeah, this is I think this is one of my favorite committees. We look at proposals from boards and groups that want to do something to either enhance a historical historical feature of the town, or affordable housing, or open space, or recreation. And we review those requests and make our recommendations as to whether the fund that we have that comes out of tax money and is matched by the state. We've been very lucky because the state has been matching us from 80 to 100%, so that we have funding to do projects or to look at whether some project is feasible. So this is a great committee, very interesting. We're not meeting this month, but we will start back up in January again, looking at recommendations, looking at our budget, and deciding what we can do for the town. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Currie. And something that I think that that the CPC and the Select Board really made strides with this year. Tim and Terry and Adam, I mean, a lot of you know that the affordable housing, the Select Board gets the right of first refusal, and it's very frustrating to be able to not act on that without having the infrastructure set up to do that. So with the work between the Select Board and the CPC, we've started that. We've started that process. We've reached out to Adam. You'll have to help me out with the. I think it's Champa. I forget the acronym. Or Terry, if you remember the acronym, we've reached out to the organization. Oh, okay. Thank you, Champa. And the fact that the CPC has created that. Again, I'm probably going to get the wrong terminology for it, but it's establishing that trust fund where we start building resources to be able to react to affordable housing that becomes available. And recently it's been in the day mill properties where we've not been able to react to the rights of first refusal, but we're getting there. And I really appreciate the work that the CPC has done with us within this last year.
In the MMA website, they passed 5 new pieces of legislation, and one of them was we also will have the right of first refusal for agricultural land, farms and such. Well, I don't have the information right up in front of me, but I did listen to it. It's on the DLS web. You can listen to it. Yeah. On the DLS website.
Both those websites, and I learned about the other one. I didn't know that the agricultural commissions had like an association. So I just saw that there's a website for that as well. So those 3 websites, the DLS, the MMA, the Mass Municipal Association, and the AgCom, is that what they call it, Currie? I think it's called AgCom Association.
Yeah, Massachusetts Association of Agricultural Commissions.
Yep. And they have their own website that has a lot of great information, some of which I pulled out for that slide this evening.
Yeah. There was a state law passed a couple of years ago, which allows the Ag Commission on behalf of the town to actually purchase or hold land for the town, much as the Conservation Commission does. So that's going to be a great tool in case we have a farmer in town that doesn't have an heir specifically that they want to pass on their agricultural land. So I think that was a great law.
Yeah, there's a lot of tools in the toolkit. I certainly don't know all about them. I'm learning as I go along, but with the assembled group of professionals, we certainly have a pretty good awareness of the tools that are out there for our disposal, or at least our awareness.
It's important because I believe it was North Quabbin growers or something said that New England only grows 30% of the crops it consumes, and their goal is to bring it up to 50%. But correct me if I'm wrong, Currie, by 2040. You know, with all the changes in climate and things going on around the country, it's, you know, it'd be nice in New England if we could be self-sustaining, or even grow enough to help other parts of the country that may be in trouble.
Thanks, Currie, and thanks, Terry. I think I don't have the right one up. There we go. Okay, Senior Site Oversight Committee. Do we have anyone on this evening? No, I think that Holly and I were talking about that. We're not even sure if it's if we have the right members there or if they've met any time recently. But you can see the that it, out of the 2 people I have listed there, there's quite a few more needed, required, nice to have on that Senior Center Oversight Committee. The Templeton Cultural Council. Like I said, we've got many different teams in the town, committees, boards, councils, commissions. I know this last year, the select board has appointed quite a few. Don't see anyone on this evening. That's unfortunate. They've been working. I know that there's been a lot of background work, and they basically decide how we can spend that Massachusetts Cultural Council funds to benefit our community. Looking at the time, we're actually only a little bit over that hour that I had promised everybody. We are almost done. I did want to show on the screen, you got to pull out your reading glasses a little bit. Hopefully with people with the 70-inch plasma screens in their house will be able to see it a little bit better. But here's a list of all the other committees and teams that we have available to us. Some of them might be active, some of them might not be active anymore. One of the ones, Tim, that I would draw your attention to, you and I have been talking a lot about the emergency operation plan, and I see that Templeton Emergency Planning Committee down there. Didn't even know that existed. Perhaps that's a tool that that Rich and the rest of us decide, hey, that might be a good time to kind of reactivate that if we're talking about publishing that comprehensive emergency management plan.
Good point.
Yeah.
Quick shout out while you have this slide up, Mr. Chair. Historical Commission. I believe I saw earlier today Mr. Tangway put up a post on their Facebook page. At this point, the building has been winterized and closed. They had a lot of support from the community getting things buttoned up just before all the snow flew. And I know they're looking for members as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's putting together this just to kind of guide the discussion. It was hard to know which ones were needed to, who was going to come and who needed their own slide. And otherwise, I wish I did have a slide for a lot of these other ones, because they really, they truly are very important to the community. I do see we have that pandemic response management team. There is a lot of discussion about that back in March on what that actually, what that team does. A very interesting point is that PRMT has a lot to do with the prophylaxis plan, or a immunization plan once a vaccination schedule has been decided upon and the Mass Department of Public Health winds up giving some guidance on that. That's where that, I think it's around the January or February timeframe, we go through this internet drill. It's everyone logs into the system, and we make sure that we can communicate through that for the purposes of the pandemic response management team. And we were very successful in the earlier this year before the pandemic hit. But I can see that one activating as we get closer to a immunization effort within our country. I will pause if anyone has any other thoughts or comments on the committees and teams I got on the screen.
Mr. Chair, one other comment.
Yeah, sure.
The Elementary School Building Committee. This is one of the ones that had a built-in phase-out plan. And Select Board Member Griffiths and myself both serve on that committee, and we have all but reached the end of its useful life. We may have one more meeting, but once all the final closeout reports and the building reports and everything are done, and we know that we have the budget all buttoned up, that one is going to just die its natural and pre-planned death. So by this time next year, that will probably not be on our list.
Thank you, Tim. Yep, just looking through some of these. Jeff Bennett goes to the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission. He brings back a lot of critical data, a lot of future year planning data, like that rotary that we're going to be putting, or the state's going to be putting in, down at South Main and Maine. That's where the information comes out for that one. But again, keep it update. Just keep your eye, if you're watching out there, keep your eye on the vacancies. There's been a lot of pitches for vacancies this evening. And a lot of them might have some stale information on the website. But again, that communication plan, Holly reaching out to some of these teams to be able to update what's going on, or are there any news items that they want to add to that. Okay, this is where I had promised if we wanted to have an open forum, not so much of a gripe session or otherwise, but basically talking about strategy, cooperation, collaboration, and open communications. Or is there any desire for an open forum or any topics that the people that we have assembled this evening wish to talk about? Well, in that case, then we will be actually more to our promise of keeping it to an hour, which is probably better from a TCTV recorded perspective. That way, with select board meetings, and when you go on YouTube and you see it's a 3-hour meeting, you might not want to watch the whole thing. But if you see a juicy 1-hour meeting where there's a lot of participation from other boards, the residents might jump in and watch that. With that, I will draw the meeting to a close. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. A little bit more intimate crowd than last year, but I wanted to wish everyone a great holiday season, and I hope everyone stays safe. We have a couple more meetings. I think we all collectively have a few more meetings before that somewhat of a Christmas break, but I certainly want all those out there in the community to have a great, safe holiday season.
Me as well. Thanks for all your hard work, Mike. This was a really nice presentation. You were well prepared, and I appreciate that. And thank you to all of you who volunteer and help make this community great.
Thanks, Terry. Round the horn, any last words, any go-backs?
Absolutely. I think I'll echo Terry's comments. Like I said earlier, I'm proud of the team we have here in town. We certainly have some other positions that we could use to be filled. So if anybody's thinking about it, this might be the time after the holidays, fill out that application, get it sent in. But I look around and we have a lot of things getting done that not everybody is completely aware of, all the behind the scenes, but it pulls it all together, and we have not shut down our government operations despite all these uncertainties and unprecedented times. That speaks a lot in and of itself.
Thanks, Tim.
And Mike, I just want to say thanks to everybody for your support of TCTV and your patience with us. it's sometimes a little rocky road, but we're getting better at it, and we look forward to continuing to serve our community.
Thank you, Steve. All right, with that, I will, since we didn't call for it to open, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Again, thank you everyone for joining. I hope this was good for the community and put out a lot of good information. We'll try and get that slideshow put out on the website. I'll talk with Holly, because it was good to show. We'll make sure that the right people are on there, tweak that, but we'll put that out on the website. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Have a great holiday.
Thanks. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
You too. Thank you.